I know absolutely everything there is to know about the Christian God. I know he is a phantasm created originally by nomadic desert herdsmen in the Bronze Age as a personal deity who gradually grew to dominance and had Sumerian creation legends attributed to him to lend him credence. I know that he eventually became the national deity of that ruthless tribe, as various minor kings and elders claimed that each had spoken to him in order that they might exert dominance within the tribe, and that some of those claims became a part of the oral tradition. I know that somewhere along the line, one or more of those kings finally decided to have scribes generate a permanent tome of the legends and to create a caste system of priests and kings. I know that additional rules and regulations were later attributed to that deity and were inserted into the written annals, and that a culture dedicated to tradition came to sanctify those basically arbitrary rules and to unquestioningly and unjustifiably impose moral value to them. I know that by that time the imaginary deity had become so associated with the tribe and its culture that it was a part of the individual identity of each individual member in much the same way that contemporary Americans self-identify with Uncle Sam. I know that various subcults developed within the culture and that some of them grew to dominance, enough that their ideas also became a part of the zeitgeist of the overall Yahweh cult. I know that various calamities befell the tribe, including the invasion and subsequent overthrow of various other tribes and cultures, including the Phoenicians, the Assyrians, and the Babylonians. This led to an even stronger identification with the concept of covenant. I know that by the time of the Roman invasion, the reliance on the covenant had also birthed a subcult belief in messianic prophecy, and that several persons had either claimed to be the Messiah or had had the claim made about them. I know that one such cult grew to dominance, which, as we have already seen, is the trend for legends, and that as Jerusalem fell, which according to the holy text it never would do, a diaspora happened, not for the first time either, and the messianic cult of Jeshua bar Joseph spread to Rome, where it captured the attention of the mother of the Emperor Constantine, who then melded that cult with several others, including the cults of Apollo and Mithra, and thus Catholicism was born. I know that in those early days there was a tradition of writing fiction about religious characters, and that there were still several cults dedicated to different ideas about Jesus, each influenced by various other religious traditions. Among those cults were the Gnostics and later the Cathars, which the Catholic hierarchy deemed heretical. I know that one of the persons writing in the Catholic mold attributed his tales to the Marcion tradition, not to be confused with the Marcion tradition, which was also dubbed heresy, and that other writers, who are later attributed to Luke and Matthew, rewrote Mark to improve on it. I also know that Mark actually borrowed heavily from Homer, but that's a long story. I know that the Church then canonized these fictional accounts, which were written to be read as fiction, and that is obvious, jumbled their true chronological order, like George Lucas did with Star Wars, to confound anyone reading them from seeing that Matthew and Luke were just rewrites of Mark, and declared them wholly untrue. In other words, I know that it's all a bunch of nonsense made up and adapted through generations. What else do I need to know?